Chapter 22, in which weird things started happening on board the Maybelle. On the second day of the expedition, Fred quietly wakes Kitty at 6 a.m. and gives cabin for an early bath. The seamen on board the ship wash themselves at 7 a.m. That depends on who gets to go first in either wash place. They all have about 15 minutes to get clean and ready for breakfast. In case of overheating, a drink of cold water or a damp washcloth is needed. After the tub has been drained, one of them will scrub it to get rid of leftover grime and mildew. Occasionally, they can use the wash place for shaving using a porcelain basin and a mirror that's bolted to the metal wall. Inside the wash place, he turns on the hot and cold water in the tub while she looked around. The room was lit by a single yellow light bulb, hanging limply in the center of the room, giving her a sense of disbelief, even if the sun barely streamed through the portholes. "Wouldn't want you all dirty for 8 days," he said. "To fit in, you have to bathe like the rest of us."
"I know,"
she said.
"Larry told me what we'll be doing every day, especially cleaning ourselves. Cleanliness can be defined as the purest emblem of the mind."
Sure enough, she took off her cap, exposing her triangular ears, before she began to dutifully unbutton her shirt. After methodically popping each button out of its hole and releasing it, she peeled it off from her leotard and tossed it onto the basin. Then she undid her collar before she took off both her boots and her pants. He can already see that this creature has large furry paws with pink pads underneath, the fur going up to her legs. Then he can see her peel off her leotard, letting it slip down to her feet before she steps out of them. There, he was taken aback by the sheer bafflement of it all. Sure, he would allow her to keep her leotard on like it's some kind of undergarment. Nevertheless, he could see that she was literally half cat. He can see the illusion playing out. The fur has reached up to her waist. On the upper side, her nipples are non-existent, her chest completely flat. Aside from the fur, she was naked, and was not ashamed.
"What's the matter, Fred?"
she asked.
"Did I make you uneasy by any chance? Isn't this what you were expecting? After all, I'm half cat, and rightfully so."
Shaking, he turned off the water and said, "Just scrub yourself real good. You have 13 minutes before the whole ship is up." She dipped herself in the tub, the water rising by her body.
"Oh, yes, before they happen to find out who I am,"
she said. Without another word, he leaves her in the tub to wash herself. However, making him froze was Cyril Lefebvre, standing behind the bulwark. "What do you think you're doing?" Fred demanded. "The whole ship won't be up until 7. "Est-ce un fait bien connu?" Cyril asked. "Miss Felinas has requested that she gets up an hour early so she could have her bath in private. I gave her that privilege. You know, I can't help wondering why she would get up so early so she can take a bath in private. It's not your time to wonder. And it's not your time to get up early too, so you can wake her up yourself. It's like you're hiding something about that girl." Fred glared at him. "You go back to sleep at once." "I will find out about that girl, Capitan," Cyril snapped. "It's not good hiding secrets from your crew. And I will make sure you or anyone else don't ever waste time asking stupid questions, Mr. Lefebvre. She's like the other girls back in the city. That's it. There's nothing more to say." As soon as Cyril left in disgust, Fred was relieved and leaned over to the side bulwark. For some reason within him, he could hear the truth from those words. In spite of not knowing what Kitty really is, the crew has invited her to play games in the mess for an hour before lunch. However, it seemed that she single-handedly beat them at anything, much to their chagrin. No matter how hard they tried to beat her, and how many times, she always won. She beat Chester Evans on a game of draughts 6 times, resulting in him throwing the board in frustration. She then placed chess against Leonard Sutton. Each move brought her closer to defeating his strategy, causing him to sweat profusely. Eventually, she left him with his head down in defeat. Foolhardy, Logan Cunningham challenged her to arm wrestle, and the result? Let's just say, poor Pete won't be the only person who got his arm broke by a girl that's inhumanly strong, given her pear-shaped figure. An hour later, like Cyril on the first day, sailors who got defeated by her began to suspect her. Even accusing her of cheating made no difference, but they refused to call it beginner's luck, according to Fred when he heard of these events, although he was secretly upset about Logan's arm being broken, resulting in him being escorted to Cyril's office. "What's with that girl you've brought her on this trip, Captain?" Chester demanded, frustrated. "She barely knew what to do before I told her anything." "How very uncanny of her to easily know my every move," Leonard stated. One sailor, Jamie Chapman, called out, "How did she get so strong when she arm wrestled Logan, huh?" Unfortunately, Fred has heard enough. He was at the end of his tether. "If it makes you all feel better, I'll have her stay with Mr. Rogers. Just be relieved that you won't be abashed further." Sure enough, after lunch, Fred had a talk with Kitty on deck. "What am I to do with you, Kitty?" he sighed.
"These people invited me to begin with,"
she said.
"How could I refuse? You could say that I have an endowment for games. Games that I learn with ease."
"Well, your endowment just had one sailor be admitted to the specialist's office for a broken arm. I swear, it's just like what happened to Pete back at the Crimson Pig." She frowned sadly.
"Oh, I see. So I'm better off distancing myself from them, since I'm different from anyone else. It's their fault they got me instigated."
He grabs her by the hand. "You still have the cabin boy."
"Of course I have,"
she said.
"He's really the only person on board I've ever known."
In fact, she was actually thrilled to spend the rest of the expedition with Giff and the other members of the Maybelle. After all, she always admired him for 2 reasons. It spurred her into becoming affectionate with music after Todd had briefly introduced it to her when she's Katie of Corico. And 2, he does have a cat to interact, although she's the only person that can hear Aloysius talk. To everyone on deck, even Giff, they're unable to. We all know for a fact that cats don't talk. That would be absurd. Most of the time at the galley, even though the crew turned their heads away from her, what really matters is that she's with him, playing some of those ragtime compositions on the Steinway, which she isn't even familiar with. Other times, they would go walk around the deck as they talked. At the end of the day, they would retire to their cabin and rest. The next few days came and went pleasantly, as more and more fish are being brought in from the net to the hold, covering the stormfish in an avalanche, aware that danger is still coming to wreak havoc on both the ship and her crew. Thankfully for Fred, Kitty's identity has remained a secret for 3 days. Saturday, on the other hand, had several specific events that would force him to tell everyone the whole truth about her. Sure, it starts like any other day. Sailors had their morning shower and their breakfast, and Kitty helped Fred open the front hatches. Honestly, there was nothing about the sea around them to suggest that strange and mysterious things would soon be happening all throughout the day. Several hours after breakfast, while Fred is taking a nap in his cabin, Isaac bursts in without knocking, jerking the captain up. "What do you want?" Fred snapped. "You should be down in storage peeling potatoes for dinner tonight. Or have you already finished?" When Isaac was hesitant, Fred added angrily, "Well?" Fred finally replied, "Well, that's why I came here. Look!" He pulls out 2 potatoes, one that was peeled by him, and one that was skinless. "I don't find anything wrong with them," Fred said. "I don't see the difference." "I don't think so," Isaac said. "The storage area is full of them that has been peeled. I was heading toward the bathroom, and when I came back, hundreds of potatoes had been peeled smooth. All of them. No chore has ever been done this quick." Fred sighed and got up. "Show me then," he ordered. In no time, Isaac leads him to the bowels of the ship. Fred was shocked when he saw hundreds of skinless potatoes in the pantry. Skins already littered the floor. Isaac approached him and said, "See? I didn't peel them so fast. Who the devil would have done that?" "Then someone else did the chore for you," Fred said. "Is that what you're saying?" "There's no one in there but me, I swear. I give you my word. Just hold them back in the sacks and clean up those skins. All of them." "I don't know about you, but it sounds like you're yanking my chain." "I'm telling you, Captain, I wasn't even planning on yanking any chain. Someone did peel these potatoes this fast." He closed the door, leaving Fred to go back up on deck. Little did he know that he'll be receiving many similar complaints from his other sailors in the hours ahead. On the way to his cabin, Fred can see Hector running towards him, screaming, "Necesito que vengas conmigo, Capitán! Alguien limpió mis platos!" "What do you mean someone did them?" Fred asked. "You told me to do the dishes. I leave them in the sink full of soapy water so they can be soaked to remove the stains. After I took a break and came back here, the dishes are already cleaned up and stacked neatly into a pile. All of them. Ven conmigo rápido!" Fred immediately follows Hector to the galley. Fred was shocked to see the plates cleaned and stacked neatly onto a dresser. There was not even a scrap of food on them. "See?" Hector exclaimed. "No chores have been done this quick. I never cleaned those dishes so fast myself. Who the devil would have done that?" That's when Fred said, "Now you're pulling my leg too. You're sounding just like Mr. Gardner." "That's ridiculous," Hector said. "Anyone else that was in the galley while you were on break?" "No." "Why, there must be someone who was in the "No! There was only me." "Look, I've no time for this. I want you to prepare yourself for dinner by tonight. I'll tell you what we'll be having later." "All right, Capitan," Hector said, lowering his head and muttering. "It would also help if I could get through the day without any more bullpucky from you or any of my men," Fred glared, before heading out on deck and back to his cabin. Already frustrated by the simple turn of events, it is best for him to completely ignore such complaints from any of his crew for the rest of the day, hoping that the day will eventually end normally. It didn't, for the crew did little to ignore such things. All day, Fred has been receiving more complaints from his crew. He told Bugsy to occasionally trap the rats that were scurrying inside the ship, but when Bugsy came back with traps and poison, all the rats had stopped moving and died recently. He just tossed them overboard using gloves. Fred told Larry to fix the Marconi when it broke down in the wireless room. But when Larry came back with a manual from the chart room, it's already fixed. Fred told Chester and Leonard to fix the ice machine when it's broken in the hold. But when they came back with the toolbox from the galley, the ice machine is already fixed. Fred told Cyril to mop the deck when he's not in his office. But when he came back after a bathroom break, the whole deck was spotless. Fred told Irving to fix the generators when it broke down, leaving the ship in a blackout. However, when Irving finds the manual in his cabin, the lights suddenly came back on, a clear sign that the generator has been fixed without him. That night, the crew eventually began to turn against each other, resulting in arguing in the mess. However, Jamie, Oliver, Nick, and Chester remain in their hearts' game. "I've never been this spooked in my life," Bugsy said. "It's not going to last throughout the expedition," Larry said. "Oh, really? You don't care? because you happen to do something behind my back. I don't think it's working out for you, Irving said. Maybe next time we can exchange you for a professional for the next expedition. Irving was 33, overweight, and often served other fishermen. He was a fine gentleman, with a closely cropped haircut and a bushy mustache to match it. How is this not working out for me? Bugsy demanded. I joined for the money. It's the one reason why I'm in this tub in the first place. So do we, Giff said. I'm spending the voyage playing. Would you mind staying out of this college, boy? You happen to help someone with chores, too. I think you're overreacting. I never do someone else's chores this fast. I only play on demand. Yeah, Bugs, Irving said. We're the ones who were spooked by strange things. Not to mention baffled, Larry said. We start a chore, we go somewhere to take a break, we come back, and the chore is already done. Suppose some of you lot has ever been pondering about it, if at all. Well, that didn't concern me, Oliver calls out, focusing on the game. I used to say those sort of things back home, even seeing them. So what's the point of questioning what's real and what isn't? Can anybody offer me a fag? I'm telling you, Ollie, Nick said. You shoot the moon, then you'll be wishing you see something strange yourself by tonight. Probably a lovely mermaid flopping on deck, singing a lovely song about how dreams can magically come true. I'm telling you, Nick, with so many stuff happening all day, I think anyone would. The bottom line is that we still don't know who did these chores faster, Irving said. That is our suspicion. What about Kitty? Giff asked. The girl with the pink hair. Were you stupid? Bugsy said. No girl could do chores as fast. That does make some sense, Bugs, Isaac said. Does make you wonder how. You see? Cyril piped up. I knew there's something unusual about that girl. And all the things that happened has something to do with her. I say no good would ever come from an average female on board. Then this was all the captain's fault, Hector said. Debería haberme quedado en el puerto. If the captain gets here, we're going to make him spill it, Bugsy snapped. We can no longer trust the captain anymore, Cyril said. So it's agreed. Those who do not will face another big problem around here. Why must you insist so much heat on both Kitty and the captain? Giff said. Can't you see that the girl's been behaving strangely throughout, Gifford? Yet you're too unenlightened to see it. Yeah, Bugsy stated. Nothing but trouble with this girl. Call it whatever you like, Giff said. I will not be a part of this mutiny. Do you wish to know how much trouble you will all be in if Fred does catch wind of this? So, you're going to protect the captain too, huh? You ignorant little punk! He went over and shoved Giff onto his own piano. Bugsy then picks up a metal tackle box and is about to throw it at Giff. But that didn't happen, because Fred's hands take the box away from him. I ought to make you walk the plank for this, Fred shouted. This is very expensive gear. I want a full explanation why any of you behave this way. It's you, Cyril shouted. I knew there's something off about that girl. What kind of girl is this Kitty Felinas? Bugsy demanded. Special guest. What a big fat joke. I didn't even know such a girl would do that, Larry screamed. Especially one who knows how to fix a transmitter without reading a manual. Fred, I want you to know, Giff said. I refuse to be a part of this mutiny against you. I'm on your side. You and Kitty. Whether you like it or not, you will tell us what's up with that girl you just brought onto this ship, Cyril screamed. This needs to stop right now! Fine! Fred raised his hands. You talked me into it. I'll tell you what she is, so everyone can shut up, including you, Mr. Lefebvre. Kitty approached the crew and demanded,
What's going on here? What's with all the sudden negativity towards each other?
Kitty, looks like your identity is no longer private, Fred said. The crew are starting to convince you did all this. You have no choice but to confess. It's time to clear the air between us.
Why would I do something like that?
Kitty asked suddenly. Don't even try to hide it now, Kitty. You were wearing that hat to hide your ears. The game is already over. Now take it off. As soon as she takes off her hat, to his shock, there are no cat ears on her head.
Does that prove you anything?
She asked. He turns her around. Surely you have a tail, do you not? He asked.
I don't,
She said.
Why?
He lifts up his shirt and asks someone. Do you see it? See what? Irving asked. The tail, stupid! Fred shouted. Do you see it? I don't see any tail, Larry said. Well, they speak the truth. There was no tail behind her. Fred puts down her shirt. Before he can say anything, she snapped.
I know what you're trying to say. All of you. Do you think there's something up with me? You don't have any proof you can use against me. I was in Gift's cabin the entire time.
So who or what did if you're in my cabin? Gift asked.
What about you?
She asked.
Do none of you do it? Do any of you have magic?
The crew shook their head no.
Then why argue about what has happened?
She asked.
Things happen for no reason when you're not looking to make your lives better so you can do whatever you please. Do you all really think I do all that?
At the end of his tether, Fred snapped. Now look here! You see what you did? Aside from Mr. Rogers and Mr. McGinty, you all give her such a bad time because you just had to suspect that something's off with her. And I was about as foolish as you. There's nothing wrong with that girl. She doesn't even do things that fast. Aside from her hair, she's like everybody else. She's not! Cyril barked. She's not like the others! Fred pulled Cyril by his collar, glaring. And you, he said. You just had to share such rumors with everyone, don't you? Since you behave irresponsibly, I'm gonna have to forfeit your pay by the time we head back. He shoved Cyril out of the way and ordered his crew. Go back to your quarters! Immediately, they hurry out of the mess, including Cyril, still holding on to the thought that this girl is not what she seemed. Now his pay shall be forfeited because of that. When Fred saw Gift still here, he stated, Kitty will join you in a minute. I would like to have a word with her. As soon as Gift left, she proclaimed to Fred,
Now these people will no longer have to know who and what I really am.
You foolish, stupid girl, he said, shaking his head. Do you think what you did won't cause any problems to my crew anymore? You're just fanning the flames.
How come?
Even I don't think it'll last. Right now it caused nothing but arguments and fights. The whole crew turned against me. They might probably start a mutiny against us.
More's the pity, Fred. And this started out as such a good day. And what about that giant fish you still got in the hold? Are you planning on releasing it soon? If you do not, hopefully if you make it back, it'll make you rich.
Fred was about to say something, then he stopped. Days ago, she confronts him about the stormfish in the hold, but now she's fine with it? This can't be right, especially when she had to hide her ears and her tail. Rich? He said. How rich?
If you wish to bring the fish home to Morimo Harbor,
she said. What? What's the reward if I bring it to Morimo?
Well, more than you can imagine. If you can imagine quite a bit, you'll get it if you're foolish enough.
Who said I'm a fool, Kitty? It's only one fish. One. You did say there's a possibility that there's more of them.
I do wish you make the right choice soon. They'll be coming towards us, like one fish acting as a beacon to them. It may take tomorrow, the next day, or the one after that to come here. And it'll be a swift end to your expedition.
I'm not foolish, Kitty.
Are you sure? Well, how's this for assurance?
Then she recites a quotation.
They shall come here for rashness. Their faces shall be unsighted by avarice. and they shall succumb to the color of the sea.
Some assurance you have.
I wish I could stand in your place and take your recklessness.
Then don't. This is how it should be. Tomorrow's Sunday, and that means church services. I want you to attend it like everybody else. I do hope my crew felt better overnight.
Will Gift be here?
He'll be on the keys playing hymns, so yes. I'll have men carry his piano onto the deck, and you'll be with him. Now go to sleep.
And will you be fine yourself? I am suggesting that you won't get a moment's rest as long as that fish remains in captivity.
Then she heads out of the mess and into Gift's cabin, where he and Aloysius were waiting for her. A deep affection for her came over him. Kitty, have you regret of ever coming on board this ship? He asked.
I only came on board through fate itself, Gift,
she said. But the crew, most of them happened to start a mutiny against Fred for just bringing you here. I bet they'll never rest until they have both him and you strung up.
How disdainful of them! For every threat towards me, a bigger one overshadows.
Kitty, don't do anything stupid. I don't care what they say about you. From now on, you're sticking with me for the rest of the trip. Just the two of us, together. I know that you're normal like everybody else. Aside from the color of your hair, pink really isn't a natural color.
This is supposed to be a good day, but now it isn't,
she said.
Too bad arrogant skeptics had to waste no patience making things go from bad to worse. Sometimes, the only thing people do in this day and age is being concerned to people like me. I didn't expect myself to be welcomed with open arms that easily when I first come to the city.
Seems to me that you rather wish you never existed. Is that it? She shook her head. Good, he said. I hate how everyone thinks they can push you around just because you're different. You deserve to be treated better with respect. Any person who doesn't is no friend of mine. You don't have to be ashamed of being different.
I deserve to exist in this world,
she said.
Then I wouldn't have met a boy like you or friends like the Pratchett's back in the city. Anyone who wishes they don't exist in this world is a fool. They don't even know what they're missing. It could be something wonderful and mysterious.
These things seem like they can never work out. And seeing you so upset tonight, it makes me feel the same way. I don't want anyone to push you around anymore, Kitty. In fact, me and Fred will not rest until we make the others accept you of who you really are. However, she found herself in a grip of anger, almost too great to contain.
I'll start by making sure that the specialist never gives me trouble again,
she snapped. Gift stiffened. Leave him alone. Fred already chews him out. He already has his pay forfeited. It won't do.
But haven't I? If Cyril wanted to confront me after I scratched Fred, guess I won't hesitate to comply. I'm the one he wants to talk to.
Please, Kitty.
You stay here until I come back. Then we'll go to sleep together. Make sure you get ready for bed.
Gift said nothing, sagging his head in defeat. With a glance from Aloysius, she heads out of the cabin. Dressed in his pajamas, Cyril was on the side of the bed, reading some Marie's bias, muttering, "Oh, how life is short. Hardly any time. Hardly." Just then, Kitty banged the door open and barging in. He was stiffened when he saw her cross.
So you want to question me?
She demanded.
You wish to make me confess to every seaman on board that I'm not like the other women from the city. I gotta hand it to you. You get around to give me such a bad time just because I'm different from everybody else. You don't hesitate to do so. You really are a piece of work.
Already, he was frowning in irritation at this latest hostility. It's already bad for Fred to keep secrets from me and the others on board, jeune femme. Something to do with you. I always know that there's something off about you the second you set one foot on deck. One way or the other, I will make you confess to everyone on board that you're not like the others. I want everyone to know that I was right, and I didn't make it up like I'm some kind of lunatic." She leaned closer.
You are acting like one to me. He has already berated you. Your pay has already been forfeited. Don't make it worse any further by wasting any time, including mine.
"That's because he continues to be in this state of denial," he sneered. "And you, jeune femme, are in on this. I've been suspecting you the moment I saw those claw marks on his arm in my office after you scratched him. I do not recall girls scratching someone's arm like a cat before. Hell, I don't even recall girls getting drunk on sarsaparilla or rub their faces on anyone's shoulder before."
And what does that make me? Something that isn't completely human? Some kind of cat creature or something? If that is the case, do you expect me to go chase mice around? Up to this point, I never realized how deceitful or crass you—
He surged half out of his bed, his face dark with fury. "Crass!" he snapped. "If anyone who's really crass, it's you and the captain, jeune femme. You two keep thinking that I'm stupid."
I will not tolerate this kind of behavior from you. Do you understand? I deserve to be treated better. And for any affront you've given me, I will have it silenced forever.
He points his finger at her. "You don't tell me what to do! Only—" She shot out a hand and grabbed his finger, twisting it. He immediately jerked his hand away from her grip and rubbed his hurt finger.
Don't you ever talk back to me again! Unless you want me to rip out what is inside your mouth!
Then Cyril became livid, shaking. "How dare you threat—" She suddenly shoved a table fan hard enough to fly against the wall and breaking on impact. Seeing her face turning red, he slowly sank back into the bed.
What should I do about someone who gave me such a bad time? Who pushed me around because of what I am?
She asked.
How am I going to make you remember that I'm like the other girls? How are you going to do your part to make this a great expedition without forcing me to reveal what I really am?
I don't think you're not like the other girls, jeune femme. Like I'm some kind of idiot, he said. I know. Now I'm going to ask you again, and you are not leaving this room until you tell me what I wish to know. What are you?
How many times have we had this pointless discussion? You already know the answer by now. Maybe your ears are not working properly. Or you've decided not to listen. There is nothing more to say to you. No explanation.
His face darkened. Then you better find one. She shook her head.
I'm really not interested in what you say anymore. If you continue to fight, I want everyone to accept me for who I am. An ordinary girl with an unusual hair color. That includes you. And you better be careful how you talk to me. Otherwise, you're going to wish you don't suspect anyone in this ship ever again. It will be my intention to make things so much worse for you and others who dare suspect me. I meant every word.
She turned and slammed the door behind him. However, he threw his novel Amuse bars at the door, seething with venom and determination in his voice. Toi, Totini! Espèce de salope d'ingénieuse!